Welcome to Talk with CK, your cozy corner for heartfelt conversations. I am CK, your host. In this space, we explore the beautiful, messy, and inspiring journeys of growing up. Each week, I'll be talking and sitting down with someone special as we share stories about struggles that shape us, the lesson that changed us, and the small moments of pride that made us who we are today. And without further ado, this is my very first episode. I'm super excited to have a very special guest, a friend that I still haven't met, Mr. John Ong. Hi, John.
Hi, thank you for having me on your first episode. I feel so honored.
Thank you for talking with CK. I'm so excited. This whole setup, can you believe it? A month to put this together following your instructions.
It's ever evolving.
Thank you because you were guiding me step by step how to do this, all the equipment, the lighting, all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is because Mr. John Ong guided me towards how to make a podcast. I'm going to make you very proud.
I'm already very proud. I mean, you
you.
already sound so good now, so I'm super excited. I mean, like I said, there's always room for improvement and tweaks, right? So as you go, feel free to come pick my brains. I would love to offer them.
Oh, thank you. You're just the most generous person I know. So let's start from where we both came from, which is Penang. So tell me, where did you grow up in Penang?
So I grew up in Tanjung Bunga. You probably have like international listeners and audience. Tanjung Bunga is the northern end of the island. And it is right before you go into the very touristy, beachy area of like Batu Ferringhi and all those famous hotels. And so it's right before you go up there. And so it's in that area. It used to be like it's kind of like a village, fishing village in that area, you know, even before my time, like when my parents' time. And so my parents were both from there, and I grew up there in Tanjung Bunga my whole life. I don't know anywhere like Georgetown and all those places. I don't really know. I discovered those places as an adult. And so most of my most familiar places are in my Tanjung Bunga area. So grew up in Tanjung Bunga.
Well, I'm gonna make a video with you when you come back to Penang about your hometown. Yes, I haven't covered Tanjung Bunga yet. So for those of you who don't know, I also have a YouTube channel called Psychology where I take people to great food and great travel. So we're gonna do one episode of Tanjung Bunga. So where did you go to school?
Okay, so I went to kindergarten at what's it called? Binghua.
Yeah. Okay.
Binghua.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I forgot what it's called in the English. It's called Binghua. Binghua 幼稚园, Binghua kindergarten. So I went there. And then after that, I went to Binghua 小学. So, which is, it's a girls' school.
But the primary school is a mixed school, right?
Yeah, primary school. It used to be a girls' school. In fact, on the name of the school, it still says girls' school.
Girls' school, yes.
But they made the primary school a co-ed school now, so I went there and then subsequently went to Chungling High School for my secondary education.
Oh, you went to Chungling,
and I went to Methodist Boys School. I was in MBS for a couple of years.
Did you have a happy childhood?
Okay, so this is kind of funny. I think kindergarten, primary school, I would say primary school is super happy. I think I found my clique before I even knew that there's such a thing. Like, you know, I found my people. And
what do you mean you found your own people?
So people I'm different because I'm very different. And there are girls who would call me being too girlish, and there's guy who bully me because I'm too soft. But they don't physically bully me, but I know they talk about me. But I have this group of people that some girls and a couple of guys, and we would click together, and we sort of like built our own built our own what is it called?
Small group.
Fort. So we just don't let other people mess with us. Not like we fight back. We built a shield that we don't care. Like I used to do, I don't know, maybe you'll know because we're somewhat close in age. Remember Timothy ice shampoo? Timothy, there's like a shampoo commercial, and we would like sing it and we'll flick our hair in class, and like all the girls and the guys would like laugh at, like tease us. But then there's this clique of us who would just enjoy the moment, so we just ignore the people. It is really going to high school is probably a little bit harder.
That's a great attitude. And did you experience bullying? I mean, borderline
Yes.
bullying those days, or
Yeah,
teasing, right?
bullying. I think maybe I put up that the certain, like, I don't care. And because of that, people find that their bully, that power, because bullying is trying to control you, right? They're trying to tell you, I have power over you. When you
Yes.
don't give them the pleasure of seeing the agony of being bullied, sometimes I just pretend, or sometimes I just don't care. And therefore, they feel like they're powerless around me, and so they stop bullying me. I mean, they still talk about me, but I don't. It's like whatever.
That's a
I do
great
what I like.
advice. Yeah, I mean, if you heard like the serious bullying cases around Malaysia these days, it's just
It's
horrible.
not easy.
Horrible.
I'm not saying that it's easy, but you got to learn how to cope, and that's how I was coping. And I was also a clown. You know, I'm friendly with everybody. I should say the bullies are not majority of them, but there's like just a small group of them who would want to call something out, like, oh, were you so girly, you laugh like a girl, whatever it is that they want to just like shame me, right?
So
And
what does John On care about those days? You said you don't care about how people
I
think.
care about what I
What do you
like, and I've
like? What did
always
you
been that way.
how do you where did you hang out? Like, and did you go to Gomda hang out? And
Okay,
what
so
did you do those days?
I'm a homebody actually. I don't like
Oh.
to go out. So all my passions put into things that I enjoy, which is music. I said Sheila Majid is my idol, and so I've been until today. And I would play a lot of stuff. A lot of my creative energy today, or my creative ideas, came from the fact that I don't like to go out and do a lot of outdoor stuff. I don't go out and play footballs or whatever. And so I just end up staying at home. I have a video camera. I would do a bunch of stuff with my, like the home, what is it called? Like the camcorder that my dad got, So we'll do a bunch of stuff. And before that, I would do audio things. Hence, I like audio things. I would do like dub music. I do remix with those double cassette deck recorders. So I'll do all kinds of creative stuff inside. But one of the funniest thing that I do, because Tanjung Bunga is so close to Batu Ferringhi, I have a lot of friends, family who are in the hotel industry. So I would play, I think of like as a very creative game. I would play like hotel check-in. So I would set up my own front desk.
Wow.
And then I'll and then I'll play like, oh, people would check in and I'll like give them their keys and all that. So I would play things that I make up.
With
So
your
I
brother,
create,
with your brothers and sister, or just yourself?
when I was younger, I was playing with my brother, and then he's 6 years older than me. So most of the time, it's me and my cousin who's just next door. It's not like these days where you have like actual games or whatever, right? You just have to come up with your own things to play. So I would do that. I do all sorts of like, that's why I'm still creating until today, because it's part of my growing up. It's part of me. Is if I want to make something, I'll just find ways of making it. I don't know my boundaries, so that allows me to be more creative. I just do whatever I want. I don't really care. Again, don't really care about what other people are telling me about my creations. So I'll just make it and see what happens.
That's incredible. But now you are in the States, and you are in a city called Kansas City in the state of
Yes.
Missouri. Do you want to tell me that
Yes.
journey? My gosh.
Yes. Okay. So Kansas City is ironically, in the state of Missouri. Actually, there is Kansas City, Kansas, but the part of Kansas City that's bigger is actually in the state of Missouri. Kansas and Missouri is just side by side neighbor state. And I'm actually in Kansas City, where I'm actually a few blocks away from Kansas. So it's not far if you say that
Border.
I'm in Kansas, but I actually live in Missouri. So it's just like a border that we can just go back and forth all the time. So like I'm heading out later tonight to go to my niece's house. So I'm dog sitting, and so I would just go to Kansas. So it's very close. But how did I end up here? Going from, I always say, I just flip everything. I grew up in an island where I used to be surrounded by water
Mm,
and then locked by this little island, right? Inside
mm.
this little island. And then now I'm landlocked. I flip it. I have like pretty much all surrounded by land. I have no water around me anymore. And about how I ended up here in the middle of the United States is because of school. I came here to study, came here for college, and ended up staying here and work here and permanently moved here now.
The first year must have been very tough, right? Do you want to tell me first year how you adjust? Like
Yeah.
it's so different from Penang. I've never been to Kansas, but I've been to Phoenix. So that's like
Very
wide
deserty.
open space,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like
Here,
miles and miles.
here's like a lots of like grass, like fields. So yeah, it's also very flat compared to some other places. And my first year, you know what was challenging is I'm actually kind of fortunate because my brother came here. And when I came
Oh.
for school, my brother's already here to
Mm,
sort of, teach me my ways, show me my
mm,
way. And so I was lucky that I have that.
mm,
And because of that, I didn't really have to go through what a lot of people have to go through. But I do remember coming here with one suitcase, and that's pretty much my life. I pretty much built my life since college until today,
mm,
starting from one suitcase and built everything from nothing essentially. Well, I guess what's most shocking is getting used to being different.
mm,
It's not necessarily tough for me, but I have to get used to it. And because I have that attitude of I don't care, a lot of times I just ignore it, especially it's not something that I can do.
mm,
So I'm being stared at, looked at, pointed, not out of malice, but
mm.
just ignorance.
So do you think,
Mm,
looking back, people of
yeah.
Kansas, Missouri, and how's that changed?
Yeah, that's changed for sure,
Mm,
especially in their cities. Because I live in this the more urban area, so definitely people are more used to different people, different culture, different food. So definitely it's changed, and thanks to us
mm,
because
mm, mm.
we're here and we essentially being woven into part of the fabric of where we are now.
So for people who've never been there, like myself, what is it like? Like in the early 2000s, late 1990s? Is it like very wide
It's very wide, yeah. It's
and
very wide. Like the
affluent, I
only
suppose?
not necessarily affluent. No,
Ah,
because we are in the sort of my school is an hour plus away from the city. So outside of the city, there's a lot of farms and because there's a lot
mm,
of land, right? So
yeah.
that's where you see a little bit more of like a kampong vibe of the US. Like in the Midwest, people are generally
Oh,
nice, even though they may not understand or know about you. They're very, very, what is it, hospitable.
mm.
Like they like to make sure that you're taken care of.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
so yeah, so it's nice. It's just but occasionally you get that stare, like,
Mm,
because we look different, right? If
mm,
you because I have seen in Penang where I grew
mm.
up, if we see like African, for instance, like dark skinned people, sometimes people get like they'll be gawking, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, look at that guy, right? So I understand the curiosity,
Mm.
and so I never really take offense, really.
Mm, that's good.
Mm.
So, for many people who have never been to the States and have never
Mm.
spoken to an American, how would you summarize the people from the States? I know New Yorkers are very different from Californian, are very different from
Yes.
Midwest. So, what would you think it's like? How would you describe Midwestern Americans?
Very polite.
Mm,
I would say most of the people that I met are genuinely polite. They're
mm,
not just trying to put up and then talk bad about you on the side. They
mm,
truly are a lot more welcoming, I think, in that
mm,
sense. New Yorkers, which I don't have a lot of experience, I know New Yorkers, but it is totally not the same. Like
mm,
they avoid eye contact when they're walking down the like sidewalk. And the Midwest is different.
mm.
If I'm walking now in springtime, it's nice to go for walks. And so when I go for walks, even people I don't know walking the dogs, we would nod and smile and say hello. So that's Midwesterners.
So I'm going to tell the audience how I knew you, even though we've never met. And
That's
this
right.
is due to the podcast that you made, Penang Hokkien podcast, which we will talk a little bit about that. When I was listening to your podcast, I was like, this person is not a usual a part of, you know, like everyday person that you see. So I'm just gonna
What do you
straight
mean?
so I'm just gonna straightforward and ask you are not straight, right?
Yes, I am gay. Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. So you can see my rainbow color in my background. No,
I
I don't
know.
always.
So how did you like those days there were no
So you
internet?
mean you
It
can
was
tell that I was gay?
I would say you have the quality.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the quality and you were so eloquent. And this is like no ordinary straight man will, you
Well,
know,
thank
have
you.
this quality. So you have a quality, I would say. And how did you realize, Mr. John?
Okay, so when did I first realize that I was gay? You know, in retrospect, it's a lot clearer now. But back then, I knew I was different. As I was explaining to you, that people would tease me in school or laughed at me, and I knew I'm always sticking out. I'm always the different one. So something is different about me. When I look back, I knew that that's part of my being gay. I think because I'm just not conforming to the very typical standards for being a boy, right? I like to hang out with my friends who are mostly girls.
Mm,
The things that we talk, I don't like football. You remember those paper dolls where you you can cut out, or not cut out, you can tear out, it's perforated, and there's this two thing you clamp on the paper doll. I mean, I love those kind of things, so I can tell that I'm different, but I didn't
mm,
think of that being gay because I didn't know, right? I was still young back then. Looking back, I probably start to realize in my teenage years
mm,
of when you start to have like feelings when you see like cute guys, and you're like, you know, your heart pounds and that kind of reaction. But then because of the society and the upbringing, you know, I grew up in a Catholic family, so all that what we were taught in school, in churches, and all that, you are essentially being taught to just know, even when you don't really understand what being gay is, you just know you're not supposed to be gay. So because of that feeling that I've always had, I always suppress that. I still get to be creative and all that, but I just never talk about or never address or never want to face the fact that I'm attracted to somebody, or whenever there's conversations about, you know, boy and girl, you have a girlfriend and all, I always shun away from that discussion and just go straight to what I excel at. Not super great in school, but I'm quite popular in school. I embrace all the other activities in school, classes, extracurricular activities. The only thing that I don't talk about and don't go there is relationships and boys and girls and that kind of stuff. I don't go there. So essentially, I'm in denial.
So when did you start in denial and
Now, okay, so
embrace?
I stopped it when I was 20, like 23, maybe,
In the States already?
in the States already.
Okay. And what was the, what was the like, I have to stop this?
I think I started dating a girl, and which is what was, she liked me. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed her as a friend, but she liked me romantically. And so she said, I think we should date. I mean, she was the one who was like asking me. So I said, you know, I've never tried it. Maybe if I tried it, I'll know if it is for me, right? So I said, okay, sure. So I tried it. Didn't work, obviously. I enjoyed her. I still keep in touch with her, but it's just not romantically. I just cannot, right? And that really made me come to terms with the fact that, okay, I can try, no matter how hard I try to be like other people, meaning like I'm a man, therefore I need to be attracted to a woman. I try all my life, like through my teenage years, I tried it and it just does not work. So that helped me come to terms with my own sexual orientation.
Was it a very difficult decision, or was it like there's no other way?
It was difficult. I mean, I feel like my struggle started since I was a kid. My denial, and you know what was really difficult was the fact that I have to change. I have to constantly battle the fact that I need to be somebody else. So for more than 20 years, all I can think of is make me different. When you pray to God, you say, God, make me different. Or when I'm with somebody say, you could be better if you're not like this. If you're too, sissy, and therefore you can, if you change it, you'll be better. If you speak with a lower tone, maybe you will be better.
Interesting, because you mentioned you don't care about other people talking, like perceive what they perceive about you. But I mean, inside you do care for yourself, because you just said you prayed to be
I did, yes.
to be like a straight man. So there's a contrast there, right?
Yeah, but so that was my challenge, right? I think it becomes my coping mechanism, because I know deep down that I cannot be who I am. And so I have to come up with some ways to live. But it didn't hurt me until I look back. Back then I was in such deep denial that it was normal to me, quote normal. I was not my full potential self because I've always tried to be different. Because our people around me always tell me to be different.
Did you mention to me your first date was with your husband already, your current husband already, or something like that?
Yes. So then
That was your first date?
After I came out, my coming out is, to me, there are different stages of coming out, and it's a process essentially, right? So my first step was to realize that, okay, I can't be pretending that I'm straight anymore, or at least having hopes that I could be more than just gay. And once I come to terms with that, I start to feel more confident because I don't have to pretend that I'm somebody else anymore. Can you imagine if you go to some place and you have to pretend to be somebody else with a different accent or different voice, different mannerism, constantly 24/7 all the time for years?
Most people pretend in offices, in the corporate world. You have to pretend that you're attentive, you care. But this is 24 hours in your private life, in your working life, in your student life.
Even with the closest people in your life, your parents, your siblings and all that. Yeah, all your cousins, all that. You have to pretend to be somebody else. You have to either change topic or you don't go there. So it's tiring. And so once I come to terms with that, that was like my beginning of my, realizing that, oh my gosh, I'm still alive after I come out, and it's like I'm not dead. And I think, but then the second part of it that was most challenging, even after I come out, was the fact that my parents do not know. I did not know then. And so that was my next hurdle. Coming to terms with myself, of course, is very important, because that was my first step to becoming who I am. And what I was afraid of was, what if my parents found out that I'm gay and they would disown me? What if they find out that I'm gay and they would not love me the same anymore? So those are the questions that torment me more than me not accepting myself. So that was a big hit. I think if you talk about coming out, the challenges of coming out, the toying with the idea that you'll be disowned or you will lose the love from your parents because I come out, that was challenging.
The biggest fear. I think the biggest fear in most people's life, not only for LGBT people, for everyone. If I make this decision, will they accept me? If I, move to this country, will they? Change job. Yeah. So tell me, how did you met your husband?
So I met my husband online. Back then, this is 1998. So this is very early in the whole dating online. So it's not like today. I don't know what dating apps are out there, like Tinder or whatever it is. So it's very different. It is like a classified ad. If you're old enough, you know what classified ad is? It's just like you just write a short article about yourself.
Wow.
Title and who you are. And then it is posted like on a list of people. And then you just go read, who are you interested in? You send them, I'll send you an email. So that's how we met.
And he saw your ads, or you saw his ad?
He saw your ad. And then saw my ad. He responded.
How did he respond? Like through a message, through that platform?
Yeah, it's an email. So it's like it's linked to an email. So you essentially post, when they click on responding, they're sending a message to your email. Quick funny story. The first time I posted in the wrong section without knowing. I posted it and my friend said, "Did you put a picture?" I said, "Nobody responded." And he asked, "Did you did you include a picture? I said, no, I did not. He said, you should put a picture there. So I did. When I go upload the picture, I realized I posted in the wrong section. I posted in the man seeking women section.
Shoot.
So nobody responded. Obviously, all my description were gay. I went back to upload the picture, into the correct category,
Correct one.
and then I got a bunch of response,
Ooh.
and I missed his response. The first response, I missed it. I have other people, so I was like talking to other people. It's not like I wasn't like dating. I was just looking for people to meet. So there's nobody local that I met. So I just chit chat with everybody. And then he emailed me back like a week later. He emailed me again. Yeah, to follow up. And that's when I saw him. So that's when I saw him. So I responded and we started corresponding by email. He was probably physically closest to me, even though we're probably like 5-6 hours drive away from each other.
Where did he live at that time?
He's in a small town in Kansas, and I'm in Kansas City. So a little bit to the like south and mid Kansas, and I'm on northeast side of Kansas. So that's how we connected, and we decided after talking for a few months, when I graduated, I decided to meet in person. Well,
So few months it took for you to finally meet in person.
I was still in school when I put the ad, and I haven't graduated yet. And that was like I can't remember when, but maybe sometime the early part of 1998. And I didn't graduate until late May. Then I had to move up to Kansas City. We probably went talking for maybe at least 2-3 months.
So first meeting, how did it went?
It went well, and I was very adamant about. I was not. I mean, obviously a bit nervous, but I was very adamant. The reason why I was not super nervous was because I kept telling him that I'm not. I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship yet. I want to meet.
You were so young.
Other gay people.
Well, how old was he?
I was 24.
And he was?
He was 31 or 32. He's 8 years older than me. So 32.
A few years older. Okay.
Yeah. So I was not really nervous because I was not really looking for a relationship. So I wasn't like worried about, what if I don't like him or what, So I was just going to meet him like in person because we've been chatting for a while. So we met and he came to Kansas City. We went out to a restaurant and happened to be a Vietnamese restaurant, and we went there and had a good conversation, and I really like him. And obviously he also liked me. And then we came back to the apartment and we chat for the longest time. Guess what movie we watched of our first night together? We watched.
So this is 1998. This is My Best Friend Wedding?
Yeah, no. Actually, no. It's The Wedding Banquet. Remember?
The Wedding Banquet.
And he's white.
I love that movie.
And he's white. So I was like, oh my gosh. Looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I mean, he must have thought that I was testing him or something, right? But I just thought, I liked the movie and the movie happened to be there. And so we watched it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it went very well. And you guys been together for 20 plus year now?
Yeah, I think it would be, we just celebrated our 27th
anniversary.
Congratulations. Meeting, 7th wedding anniversary, 27 being together.
What's your secret of a happy relationship marriage, you think?
Communication.
Yeah.
Communication means two-way talk. Communication only works when there's two-way conversations back and forth. And I think that's super important.
Has there been a time where the communication broke down between the two of you?
Of course, yes. Yeah. Let's say relationship is work. Yeah. You just keep at it because you want to be with that person that you would want to put in the effort to make that work. If the person no longer worth your time, can be bye-bye. So it's work, and it's not easy work. And I say, if you ask me if there's like a time where we hit like a bumpy road, it was because of certain lack of communication, but it's also because of the fact that we insisted on communicating that we made it work. So I would say in about 7 years into our relationship, I'm fairly young at the time when I first met him. So sometimes I treat him like a friend, which is not a bad thing.
Yes.
But sometimes I treat him too much like a friend. I would do a lot of my own activities and all that without really being too considerate for the other half. And I have to learn how to do that. And I remember what happened was when there's a communication breakdown, oftentimes it's because it's not the right time. And it is also, I am trying to impose on something based off of or coming from my own perspective rather than listening to him and waiting for the right time for him to talk to me. And I remember one example. This is the part that I can think about because I remember vividly down here in the basement we were talking. He sometimes, when there's conflict, or not just between us, but whenever there's something, he sometimes would just seize up and be quiet, cannot talk. And I
And do you
want to
let
talk.
him, or do you just push for him? You have to talk to me. Or you just like,
So previously I would be that. I would be like, talk to me.
yeah,
We talk about the importance of communication, but communication also, when you can only communicate when two of you are ready. You cannot
yes,
just say, I'm ready to talk, right? So I told him, I'll make this quick. I remember I was holding his hand. I said, I need to know whether or not you want me to be here when you are not happy. Do you want me to stay here with you, or do you want me to go away so that you can have your quiet time? He was not communicating, right? He's shut down. There's no talking. So what I did was I said, I'm going to hold your hands. And if you don't pull my hand away, I will stay. So what I did was I let him give me a very simple signal. If you want to be by yourself, just pull your hand away. I'm going to hold your hand. If you just move your hand away from me, I know you needed the space. If you don't, I'm going to be here. Even if we don't talk, I'm just going to hold your hand and stay here. And that seemed to work. And for me, it clicked in a way where I want to be with you even when we have conflicts. When there's tension, I still want to be with you. I think that's the part that I'm very dramatic. I'm like a drama queen. If you
think
have
so.
a fight, I'm going to go. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to break up. For him, it's not. For him, it's like, why do you talk about that? It's not. It's just about this current situation that we're having a fight with. Then I can, of course, I mature through that relationship, and I know that we need to find ways to communicate with each other. And sometimes even without speech, you can still find ways to communicate with each other, which is like, hold your hand. If you want me to go away, pull your hand away, then I'll give you the space. If not, I'll stay.
What is the one thing you shouldn't do in a relationship?
I would say what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't have expectation. You should not assume.
That's interesting.
Because
Assume
it's
what?
so easy to look at the situation from your own point of view. Because everybody does that. It's because we're seeing the world through our own point of view. When you're in a relationship, you have to consider the other person point of view. Meaning it's not what you think they think. They need to tell you what they're thinking. What are their feelings? What is their perspective? That is something that I think is going to save a lot of headaches if you allow that to happen.
Very interesting.
Cannot
So
assume, like, of course he's not talking to me. Of course he's mad. Never, of course. You got to hear from your partner to tell you that that's the case.
So I wanted to ask one more question. You said it's about work. So making communication flow smoothly is another work. Did you ever try to spice up things? Because 20 years could get very boring at times. Do you have to spice up thing, or do you think that's just overrated? Like
I
people
think
spice
when,
up thing with, in the bedroom department or do romantic stuff.
yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's
Yeah,
overrated, or do you think it's
no, I
sometimes
think you need to do the
necessary?
work. You need to do the work. You need to find out what he likes either in the bedroom or just in life in general, and also be able to communicate to him what you like. And this is not just, which category. It's the same everywhere. If you can make that work in life, you should be able to make that work in the bedroom, like, and vice versa. You can only do one and not the other, and you should be able to do both.
Super good advice. Now I want to touch upon John on the podcaster. And we're covering a lot of grounds, but I'm going to get to John the podcaster. How did you started podcasting? You were one of the first. Like, how
Yes.
did that happen?
I just stumbled across, so I read an article on this online website called Engadget. It still exists. And that article was talking about what podcasting is. This is in 2003, I believe. And yeah, 2003. I'm an ancient podcaster. I call myself a podcast pioneer because there were fewer than 50 podcasts in the world at the time when I first started mine. And so they talk about what podcasting is, the whole RSS part, but all the recording part, I already sort of know. So the audio record, back then it was just audio. Now there's video too. But back then it was the audio recording, and I am a gearhead, and I told you I love music and all that. So I have a mixer and I have a microphone, and I thought, you know what, the audio part I can already do. I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna learn how to do the technical part, which is like to publish your podcast. And that's how I started. A lot of people don't care about it anymore today, but if there are people in the audience who are like traditionally a podcast listener or a podcast producer, you know that the whole thing about podcasting is about XML file. So that XML file, a lot of people don't even think about it anymore. You just use a service to publish it, Spotify, and then boom, it's done.
These were the early days, like early
I have to
days.
hand code my XML file.
What does it mean, hand code? I don't even know what that means.
So you find a template, and then you change a bit of it's like, HTML code. This is XML code. So you go in there and you use text edit and you change, okay, the file location is on this server. And before you put whatever your server.com / the file name, I have to manually do it.
That's insane.
For a few episodes in the beginning. And then of course more services starts to pick up. But yeah.
I feel like you're very happy when you're doing podcasting. I can feel it.
I am.
Yes. What is it you think that gives you the kick in podcasting? Well, basically, you are a very chatty person.
I'm very chatty.
But also you're chatting with 10 people at one time. And that could be like, like for me, it's like, can you wait your turn?
I think because I love to connect with people. It took me a long time. It wasn't at the beginning that I realized that, why am I so excited about doing a certain podcast? And all the ones that I do are connecting with people. And so it allows me to connect with people for different purposes, different reasons. But the ultimate core thing is it allows me to connect, not just to the people that I'm talking to, like you right now. It's also to people who are watching this right now. The things that I do, and I love looking at feedback, because sometimes when earlier days of podcasting can be pretty lonely. Sit here, because my first podcast is me alone. I don't have guests. I talk to the microphone for 45 minutes and I post the show, and I don't hear from anybody. And I continue doing that for years. And then people start to listen and people will interact with me. So it's the connecting with people, sometimes big groups, sometimes small groups, sometimes by myself with the audience only.
If you can have anyone in the world to be your podcast guest, just one person, dead or alive, so you can go back 1,000 years, you can ask Julius Caesar or something. Who would you have and why? You have to think.
I have to think, because I have reached out to a lot of people that I wanted to talk with, and I can think of who right now who's no longer alive, which is my dad. Right, I did a bunch of podcast episodes with my dad, so I did not have any regret. It would be family members, not somebody famous,
like your grandparents. Something.
Yeah.
Really?
I like to go back and talk to my grandparents, because on my mom's side of the family, we do not have a lot of history that was passed down to us. And heritage for me and my roots are very important for me. I'm very interested in it. And therefore, I would probably go back and talk to like my great grandparents about their lives in China, and maybe my grandfather, who I have, my paternal grandfather is also a mystery, and therefore, as a podcaster, I would like to interview him because he passed away when my dad was only 3.
Wow.
He was
so you
killed
never
during
knew him, and your father never knew him.
Yeah, my father never knew him. So he was killed in the war, in the Japanese occupation.
Wow. He fought for the British in Penang, or
no? He was just a civilian. He was like a butcher. Yeah, he was a butcher, and he was bombed. Yeah, he was killed by a bomb.
In Penang?
In Penang, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we forgot that there's this violent history in Penang. Yeah, we forgot about that. Yeah. Because if you stand on Beach Street in Penang, in Georgetown, if you look opposite, the opposite of Beach Street is actually completely bombed out at one time. Yeah. Anyway, you are the host of Penang Hokkien podcast, which I will put a description. If you speak Penang Hokkien, do join that podcast. It's a very interesting bunch.
Yeah, you don't have to speak it. If you understand it, you can listen to it too. I have a lot of listeners who are like moved away. Like is that my mom is from Penang. She's in the UK now. Dad's Caucasian, but then they said, "Oh, that familiar sound." Even if they do not understand 100% of the time, it gives them comfort. There's a certain warmth with our language, right?
Well,
with Hokkien.
I'm glad you're doing this. I mean, there's a place where Hokkien speaking people can go to,
Yeah,
myself included. You just finished taping one episode yesterday,
3.
and I'm a fan. It's just that
Thank you.
I told you I couldn't like
It
keep my
it goes on
eyes awoke.
forever in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Yeah.
This podcast go on forever, and that's something very astounding to me. You have the stamina to host this for like 2 hour plus. That takes a lot of passion, right? So I'll put a description below on
Thank you.
Penang Hokkien podcast. Please go there
And
as
let me
well.
know if you come watch the podcast or listen to it. Let me know that CK sent you. And I
Yes.
know where you came from.
Yes, and also I'll be putting my newsletter link also. You can click that link and join my newsletter, and I'll post more about the stories. So last 2 questions that I always ask my guests. The first one is, what's the best advice you got in life that you would like to share?
Don't have any expectation for others, and don't care what other people think.
Yeah, I think that's reiterated throughout this recording.
Yeah. I think since I was a kid, it's always been. I mean, of course, I struggled, and even until today, frankly, right? We are human beings, and we always want acceptance by other people.
Yeah, it's
We
in our
want recognition
biology.
from other people.
Yeah, it's in our biology.
this-
You do care, but just don't overthink
But for me,
stuff.
it's like, for me, it's, if it doesn't, it really doesn't matter, because what's holding you back sometimes is what you think other people are thinking about you. It's not even probably true that the person think of you that way. And oftentimes, if we're disappointed, when you have expectation, you will get disappointed. And if you don't have expectation, everything that anybody does for you is a bonus, and it'll make you happy.
That's very great advice. When you look back now, John, what makes you feel proud?
I
Looking
think
back.
my determination of wanting to do what makes me happy, and that includes living my honest life, and that includes creating projects that I think is meaningful to me, like the language preservation podcast that we were talking about, Penang Hokkien. It's a talk show, but the ultimate goal is to make awareness and put out the fact that there's the language there. When you know it is, I think you probably lived through that yourself. If you go through a Chinese school, in school, we're discouraged by our school teachers to speak Hokkien.
I really wonder why. At that time, I was like, why? But we speak it at home. Why is it illegal in the
Why
school?
can't you speak it there? It's very confusing.
I couldn't
for
understand
students.
why at that time, because we went to, I don't know about your school, but my school like went to the extent of
they'll penalize you.
Yeah, in a very harsh way, which I couldn't understand. Like, it's just language. I'm not even saying swearing or
exactly.
making threats or anything.
I think there's like historically you can look back and some linguists can tell you why that was made, and it was like a propaganda to, there's a lot of stuff, we won't need to go in there, but the ultimate fact is that we were tarnished. Our impression of using that language is tarnished by the fact that you will be penalized by using that language, and therefore, can you imagine what children think of that language? No wonder it is a dying language, right?
Exactly.
So it's in the hands of those who discourage us to use. So when I grew up, when I discovered this medium called podcasting, I don't need to wait for a radio station to approve my content. I don't need to wait for a producer to approve that. I am the producer. I am the distributor. I'm the content creator. I get to control from the idea to the recording to distributing it. I love that power that we have today, right?
It feels great,
and therefore,
right?
Yeah. And so if I was always afraid of this and that, if I feel like I can't do that, so I allow myself to be naively positive about what I want to do, just go do it. If it fails, it fails. But if you stop yourself before you even start, that's something that you come back and regret for not trying.
That's great motivation. And that is the end of this podcast. Thank you for listening. And thank you, John, for talking with CK. I've learned so much, and I hope we continue to collaborate. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes.
We have almost I think we have almost the same experience in life. So we'll talk more. Thank you for listening and also watching. You can see more description of how you can find Talk with CK. Be aware this is the first episode, so there are more interesting guests to come. And I hope to have a very interesting lineup of guests to talk to us, to tell you about their life experience. Thank you, and signing off. Thank you, John. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.